your snacks and breakfast in the back. There's some healthy options for the new year if you're going that direction. There's also some pastries. All right, let's take a look at what we have going on this week. Tomorrow, we have a CE class, our second one of the year, utilizing RMLS statistics. So this is something a lot of people ask about frequently is, hey, can you pull a report of this? How do I stack up like compared to the market or different trends? So this should be a great class hosted by Core Title about all the data and statistics in RMLS. So register for that for the CE certificate and for lunch. And that is tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Wait a minute. Peter, happy birthday. What are you doing to celebrate Peter Clark's birthday today? Oh.
Let's go down a list of
For
his birthday.
Oh my gosh. Okay, later this week on Thursday, Joe is hosting his monthly contract mastery class. So again, this is for anyone who wants to learn more about the contracts. But if you have not written 3 sales agreements, you definitely should be there. So what else do you want to say?
Yeah, and this will also we'll go over the new revisions in the real estate sale agreement as well. The purchase and sale agreement has some slight changes to it, some subtleties. So we'll make sure we highlight those elements as well.
Cool. And there's no registration. You just show up and lunch is provided for that as well. And then next week already, my goodness, our economic forecast. So it's at the same time as this meeting, but it will go for an hour longer and we'll have like full catered breakfast brought in. But our annual economic forecast, I think we already have like 67 people RSVP'd or something as of last night. So, we will probably have to cap that once we get to like 80 RSVPs. So please make sure to RSVP. This is such a good opportunity to hear from these guys about what to expect for the year ahead. So hopefully we'll see all of you guys there. Thanks to everyone who's already RSVP.
And how many non-agents are coming?
I sent it out to a few like agents from other brokerages and I had 14 RSVP.
14 non-KW agents are coming. So it's a perfect opportunity. It shows a high level of interest to me. It's a perfect opportunity to make one call and invite somebody from another company that you've been thinking about and invite them to come. Because we have 13 seats left, probably go quickly.
Yeah, last year I asked a couple of our guests, like, what prompted you to come? And they said, oh yeah, usually where I go see Pat Stone, there's cost. So the fact that we don't charge a cost and we get to hear from them and have a good breakfast and everything. So because of Peter and Dwight's long-term relationship with Pat. So that's cool. Okay, what else do we have going on? Okay, there has been a date change for our Valentine's Day pop by. Kylie, you want to come talk about it? Oh yeah.
Hey, good morning, everybody. So our next event that we're going to be hosting for you guys is going to be a pop by making event. So we'll have these little graphics that are made for you guys, ready, let's make a move. There'll be a spot for your business card. So basically we are going to be ordering everything for you. You guys just get to show up, have a glass of wine, eat some snacks, put all of your Popeyes together, mingle amongst yourselves, that type of thing. They will be covering the first 10 Popeyes. So if you wish to order more than that, we can definitely accommodate you, but we do need to know how many you need. So the little QR code up there, please register. If you want more than 10, just let us know and we'd love to see you there. We did change the date. We're going to have it on Friday. I heard that there was something else going on Thursday that would pique a lot of people's interest. So we're going to move it on Friday, 2 to 3:30. Thanks.
Cool. Yes, this should be great. All you have to do is show up. Even if you are unsure about making Popeyes, you can still show up and have a glass of wine. We changed the date because WFG has their big annual refresh event that Thursday. So I heard from a few of you guys that you were planning on attending that and just kind of spacing it out. But same exact time, just we switched it by one day, Friday next week.
And this is the perfect time of the year to do some Popeyes. We want to get on everyone's radar right now because it's the new year. There's political change in the atmosphere. There's a different level of energy and people are going to be making decisions to move. And if this is a great chance to just stop by and come from contribution and give them a gift and get back on their radar in case they're thinking about moving.
Yeah. And they're not going to be too like cheesy, lovey Valentine. They're like perfect. Kelly said for those on Zoom, there's candle, some candy, nice bag. They're like nicer quality than
And a
like
bottle of wine.
oh,
No.
Schwab sellers. Just kidding. Okay, then so next week we have the economic forecast. Then the next week we go straight to the country club instead of this meeting from 10 to noon. So it's our annual state of the company and awards. Lots of you guys have already RSVP'd to that. That one came as an Evite. And we hope to see all you guys there. It's such a good time to come together and celebrate all the successes that you guys had in 2024, personal growth, big old breakfast, all the things. So hopefully we see everyone there. I mean, we'll close the office. Staff will even leave at the front desk. So like the office will be locked during that time. So everyone should be there.
We're doing our year-end numbers too, so you'll see how we've done compared to the KWRI and local numbers
And the region and RMLS.
and our
yeah.
region. And right now they're pretty good. You want to share? Oh, never mind. Go to the next.
I don't know. You got to come. You got to come to see what
I
happens.
was just thinking about the family reunion.
Oh, yeah, we'll talk about that next time. Kylie, oh wait, nope, new slide. Broker Bucks. So just a reminder, we're doing the Broker Bucks program where we want to grow and start the year strong with like great agents, right? And so a lot of our best agents here are people that you guys referred from other brokerages, right? That you've worked with. So if you refer a licensed agent and they come in for a meeting, they don't even have to join, you will receive $200. And then as an extra bonus for first quarter, we're adding another 200 if they end up joining. But really the first 200 is just for if they even agree to come in for a meeting, because then, we do our things. So please, if you ever, they have to be licensed. Yes. And they can't be at another Keller Williams. They have to be licensed, but they can be newly licensed, but they have to actually have a license. You can't bring your kids, but we want to grow with like good, like-minded people. So, and show our appreciation to you guys back for your referrals. So thank you for that. Kylie, do you want to talk about any like updates or like mortgage rates or? Yeah, let's do that.
All right. Hello again. Not a whole lot to update on you guys. I know last week mortgage rates were the highest that they had been since I think like May of the prior year. We've gotten a little bit better. Our average for a conventional 30 is going to be right around 7%. Your FHA is still sitting at about 6.5%. Not much. No, there's, inauguration day was yesterday, so I think there's going to be quite a few changes that happen in the next couple weeks and stuff as far as how people are feeling about certain markets and what they're going to do with their money. So we shall see. Yes. Oh my gosh. If I had $1 for every time somebody asks me that, I think that this year is going to be better for us, hopefully. So yeah, I think it'll be a little bit better. It might get maybe a little bit worse while everybody calms down, and then I think it'll get much better for us. So I think 2025 is going to be a great year.
Any other questions for Kylie?
Perfect.
Peanut gallery in the back. Thanks, Kylie. Yay. Okay, there's been some changes. You've probably seen some emails with TCPA and that go into effect on January 27th. So, Joe.
Does anybody do we all know what TCPA means? Telephone Consumer Protection Act. This is it's been a choker, that's for sure. So this was enacted a number of years ago to really stop the upheaval of the massive amounts of telemarketing calls, spam calls, robocalls that the consumer is getting. This is all consumer-based protection elements and steps being taken by the Federal Trade Commission, the Federal Communications Commission, things of that nature, to stop the unwarranted and unwanted calls, solicitations, things that you get. And how do we put it? How do we cease on that? This is going to affect our business too. As we are in the generation business, we're calling various people to interest them in the opportunity of real estate. We're calling FSBOs, and we're calling it expireds, and we're calling people to generate a relationship. These rules are going to be put into place effective the 27th that are going to put a lot more control into what you can do and how you can reach out. And a lot of this is going to be based on consumer consent to receive your text, to receive your emails, and to receive your phone calls. So let's go over some of the highlights here. I've got a few slides. So again, the key change to the TCPA is stricter consent requirements for telemarketing. And the big thing is increased penalties for abusive behavior if you are found guilty of some of these actions. The key areas of change are the one-to-one consent rule. And we'll go over these in the next couple of slides. Easy consent revocation, the stricter lead generation rules, restriction on auto dialers and pre-recorded messages, and the do not call DNC compliance. And again, why this matters, non-compliance can result in fines ranging from $500 to $1,500 per violation. Okay, so realtors, let's start thinking about updating your processes.
Wait, and I just want to add one thing on that. So this applies to text messaging too. So if you blast out like 1,000 text messages, that's 1,000 violations, just for example, right? Like each message is a violation when you're adding up the cost. If you are found to be, if you are found to be in trouble. So that's why these fees can really, especially with text messaging, they can multiply very, very quickly.
Okay, so the key changes to address the one-to-one consent rule. This is the big one. What's new is explicit specific consent is now mandatory for calls, text, or auto-dialed messages. Your action is obtain written consent tied to your business. Okay, avoid shared or generic permissions. What that means is you get a lead and it says, you may receive information from a variety of different third-party vendors. It has to be specific. Hey, I'm calling on behalf of my business. Okay, Joe Shafo, LLC Real Estate. Do I have your consent to receive? Will you give me your consent to receive text messages and phone calls? Yes or no? Easy.
Wait, can I talk about that one? One thing I saw an example of that. So I've been trying to watch a lot about this and learn a lot about this as well, just to really see how it's going to affect our business. But an example was that if somebody gave you authorization to send them properties, right, that you just met, they didn't give you authorization to send anything else, like a monthly newsletter or anything else. Like it has to be specific for the thing, right?
Correct.
So that's the key part of that one, is specific.
Okay. Number 2, easy consent revocation. What's new is consumers can revoke consent through any method, text, email, verbal, etc. You need to implement a system to process these opt-out requests within 10 business days. I don't want your text anymore, Joe. I have to, within 10 business days, take them off my text list. Number 3, stricter lead generation rules. The leads you are receiving from a third-party vendor or whoever's generating those leads for you, if you're not doing those in-house or internally, those leads must explicitly agree to contact from your business. You have to verify those lead permissions before making contact. So if you're purchasing leads, you need to, whoever's providing those leads, you need to check and see what their policy is on accessing and consent to reach those leads. Now, most likely that recipient, that consumer, has given consent because, yes, I want a broker to call me. I've signed up to get leads. But when you call and say, and you're reaching out to that prospective client, just introduce yourself and say, do you consent to receiving notifications from me via email, text, phone, things of that nature? And just notate that.
Yeah, make a note.
Always make a note. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's an inbound, like they sign up. Is that explicit?
Well, inbound from
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, inbound from where? Sign call?
Something like that, or I don't know if you
your lead gen platform, your website.
If they're the ones that sign up, is that explicit? Or do I still have to talk to them and say, hey, Joe, you signed up for this. Do you give me consent to continue talking to you?
I think it's explicit. If they sign up to generate an interaction with you to represent them in a real estate transaction, they're giving consent to receive information back from you. But again, you probably need to have some sort of policy or confirm that when you're talking to them. Hey, is it okay if I send you emails? Can I send you listings? Would you prefer to get those in a phone call, a text, or an email? And just notate that. Made communication with lead A. They said they'll receive anything I send. Cameron. Well, do you have a relationship on the personal email exchange? Or you,
I don't think it matters.
well, the personal, well, have you communicated to them before you added them to your database? Okay, I think you need to communicate first to find out the information you need to see A, if it's a viable contact or potential opportunity. And so then you could add to your database, but you're going to have to get the permission to continue to send them information. Now, if you call and ask them for information, they provide that. You need to verify that. Say, can I continue to, have an exchange with data, information, listings, whatever that is? Are you okay on receiving that information? Do I have your consent? I hope so. I think it probably will be. I'm sure we'll see changes at the state level and the regional level with the unsolicited emails we get all the time.
By phone and text,
Yeah.
for sure.
But that's the primary goal here is really is the phone element and the text element. That's the number one issue. Yeah, I mean we're going through the weeds here as we kind of navigate this and find out how strict it's going to be. Obviously, we won't know until we start seeing enforcement. I don't know who's going to be enforcing that, what the manpower is behind that. That's not going to be enforced locally at any level. It's a federal enforcement. Okay. But the key is the DNC website, donotcall.gov, might have to be your next best friend. You need to register on that site to access the database of people that have said, do not call me. Yes, sir. Yep. Okay, so let's move on. I don't want to take up too much time. We can go to the next slide. FSBOs. Okay. Manually dialing a FSBO is fine. It's okay as long as it's not on the DNC list. So before you call that FSBO, unless you're asking for requesting an opportunity to show the property or represent a buyer looking at the property. But if it's to call to solicit the listing, you cannot do that. Okay. Easy consent revocation. Oh, I'm sorry. Expired listings. Manual calls are allowed, even if the number is on the DNC list. So I don't know how that one kind of snuck in there, but
Yeah.
it doesn't make any sense, but it is part of what they've published. Because the key is it's a manual call. It's not a robocall or an auto call. Cold calling neighborhoods. Use manual dialing only. Avoid DNC listed numbers unless explicit consent is obtained. And then automated calls only allowed with written consent. Manual dialing is the safest option going forward. I don't think anybody engages in robocalling or auto calling here, but again, as a state, manual calling is probably going to be your best friend here. So the key takeaways. Yes, Mark. Yep. That's correct. That's what it is. One line, one-to-one consent. Okay, so the key takeaways, last slide, is stick to manual dialing and texting unless you have explicit written consent. Honor all opt-out requests promptly within 10 business days. Double check lead permissions and DNC lists before contacting. So the compliance checklist that you need to create in your business would be consent forms, DNC verification, tracking opt-outs, and then of course training will continue to educate you and bring changes and any type of modifications to this TCPA. But this is to protect you. But number one, it's also to protect the consumer. That's the intent of all these rules and regs. Just be smart. Just make sure everything is verified. But the key is notate when you've had these interactions and what those actions represented. Keep a record of that. Okay. Any other questions, concerns? I'll send these slides out for you if you need something to review. But if you have any questions, I'm always here to address those. Mark, I'll send this out to everybody today after the meeting. Okay. Thank you.
We'll include them in your weekly newsletter that
Yeah.
you received from Cole. Put all those slides. And thank you, Joe. There is a little bit of gray area, but we just want to make sure we're getting this out because, like last time we received a complaint for one of these, just for example, when we dug into it, the person had submitted lots of these. Like this was their job, was finding people who reached out to them, and then like filing a complaint and saying, "Oh, you sent me all these text messages." So this was like people are like scammers are doing this like as a career, basically busting people.
It's kind of a cottage industry.
So that part of it is real, that there are people like out there filing these complaints. So just again, like you said,
And this will not fall into E&O coverage either. So just another, something to put another feather in your cap. The E&O will not cover this type of abuse, or if you're found guilty or you're subject to this type of complaint or claim, the E&O insurance will not cover this.
Okay.
Okay. So that's a biggie.
Geez, you just like stuck the wind out.
I know it. We have all these great positive slides, and then Joe stands in.
Well, all right, let's get to Marc Fox, our guest of the day.
Actually, I'll move over.
Yeah, move over. It's in the middle. Okay, so I asked Marc Fox to come talk today because they do such a good job on their team of just keeping the momentum strong. And we've been talking about this a lot because how you set the pace for the beginning of the year is going to set your pace for the whole year and just like getting that momentum going. So, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what are you guys doing to make sure you have a good first quarter to just like start the year strong?
What do we do? I'd say what we are doing, we've already done. I mean,
Yes.
this started in October for us, and I'm sure a lot of you guys too, over the last few months have been planning for this year. And so that's huge. We literally was talking as a team recently that we're literally halfway through our first quarter already, right? Because everything we did in December and half of what we've done in January, those 45 days is what we're going to get paid in first quarter. So that was kind of an eye opener, right?
Yeah.
In the first 2 weeks, the 2 holiday weeks really botched us up, I think, with the holidays being in the middle of the week and lost some momentum there. So, but it starts with the planning. So whether you just doing it now or you did it in the past, I think it's making sure you have a very specific plan. In the past, we used the 135, which a lot of you probably heard of. We've used it for a long time, but I think we just kind of lull ourselves to sleep and we fill it out and it's kind of blah and it's generic and it's not real specific. And we kind of just go through the motions. And by, March, we're off just kind of doing whatever. And we veered away from that. So we made the 135 much more specific to each agent's goals, of course. We are asking each agent to track a specific activity, and this is different for each person. We're not saying, hey, everybody's got to track these 8 things and turn them in every day. That's not how we operate, but to have one specific thing they're going to track daily, weekly, monthly, and then we're breaking our yearly goals down into quarters. And so looking at it each quarter and reevaluating that. So we're tallying numbers each month. We're looking at quarterly goals and any adjustments we need to make, but obviously, that ends up being the yearly goal. So planning is what we've been doing up until now.
Yeah, I just want to dig on that 135, also called the GPS, right? Because you're doing one goal, 3 priorities, and then 5 strategies or activities, right? And so, a lot of people doing it for the whole year can be kind of daunting. So like doing it for each quarter. Now, what are some examples of some of the things your people are tracking? I know you said like there's different things.
It's really different for everybody. I mean, I think we all have our own strengths. When we looked, part of planning for this year was looking at everybody who's been doing this for more than a year, what their last year looked like, right? And we can all look at that and go, hey, this went really well. This didn't go so well. Looking at your sources of business is important. Our biggest source is sphere and past client. But some agents looked at that and said, yeah, that was my biggest source, but gosh, I've just barely tapped into it. Okay, then let's lean more into that. Others were like, hey, I want to start doing more open houses. I want to, some of it's contacts. I mean, so it really varies on each agent, what they want to accomplish, what their strengths are, where we felt they had good success and we could lean into it more, or maybe areas they just haven't tapped into and they're doing really, really well here. Now let's lean into a whole nother, lead pillar.
Yeah, and they're tracking it, they're
Specifics.
talking about it,
Yep.
they're sharing it with each other.
The coaching, yeah, that's a
Mm-hmm.
big change we made too. I think as we coach each agents, or you guys have coaches, or come to training, whatever you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
I think we just get in the habit of kind of just like going through and talking about like and thinking, even if we're just doing like the self coaching, sitting at Starbucks with a notepad, going, "What's going on? How's it going?" We get caught up in like my pipeline and why isn't this person moving through and why aren't they converting this, and that's like handling situations, but it's not really getting to the core of the coaching of the activities or the accountability or the scheduling or discipline. So whether we're coaching ourselves or you're working with a coach, that accountability is huge. So we're kind of approaching coaching a bit differently this year, and not having a half-hour coaching meeting session, whatever, turn into be talking for 25 minutes about, the first-time home buyer that can't qualify and how they're going to save money, right? Like that's a situation. Let's kind of get the brass tacks of the coaching activities.
I like that. So then what
Yeah.
kinds of conversations are you having, like specific about? Like, are you doing enough activities or?
A lot of it's schedule. I mean, it really comes down to schedule and being more disciplined. We asked agents we ask them to specifically redo their schedule. Like don't just roll into next year with the same, 80% of the same schedule you had before, but time block, and based on your goals, like go revamp your whole schedule. I mean, everybody did that. Matt, our director of sales, did it. I mean, he changed Daisy's doing certain things, and it's kind of a fresh perspective, and it mixes it up. And I think we feel like invigorated from it, but it was really have them redesign it based on their goals specifically and really get the details, but also make it super realistic. Like, some of us or agents have, every hour, like what's going on every single hour. Well, you're not sticking to it. 2/3 of the way through your day, it's gone. So maybe it's like 2, 3, 4 key things in your schedule and leave some time gaps for reality, but make sure you knock out those 2, 3, 4 things.
Right. As soon as you start ignoring those time blocks,
Mhm.
then the whole thing
Just spirals out.
Yeah.
Totally.
So wait, give some examples. Like, what is that? What is like a couple of your agents? Like, what does an ideal calendar maybe look like? I know it's going to be different.
They're all
for
different.
everyone.
Yeah, they're all different. I would just say what we ask is like from 9 to noon, that your calendar is pretty much the same every day. Every day you're working. You're in the office. And if you can,
What's that mean?
the same every day,
Working in the office. What's
working in
that
the
mean?
office,
What are you doing?
Hanging out.
coming in. I mean, we're a big in-office team. I think, the synergy, the culture, the feel, all that. I mean, being in KW office, all that stuff is important. But if they're going to, when the days they're going to be in the office is 9 to noon, like you're certain things got to get done. I mean, you have certain priorities, not just coming in and winging it. And, guess what? The afternoon can take its own course, hopefully from activities in the morning. But, and we're not just saying that has to be, it's not old school, like you got to be on the phones and you're calling for hours. This could be social media. This could be, sphere emails, like whatever you're doing, just have it be consistent each day.
And
in the office time.
intentional versus just that reactionary, which will always kind of happen in the afternoons. Like you're saying.
Yeah.
So they're
Okay.
coming in and with goals that they have to accomplish that day. They're not coming in to visit and decide what they're going to do that day.
Absolutely.
They have
That's
a
it.
plan. They're
Plan.
redoing the plan.
Yeah.
They've
Yeah.
developed the plan that's best for them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
For how they think they might want to grow their
Absolutely.
business.
We're not setting a plan for everybody. No.
Can
it's
I drill
different.
down for 1
Yeah.
minute? So I guess Sean had his best year.
It's an amazing year. First full year.
Why? What did he do? What would you
Good
say
question.
he did really, really well that caused him to have his best year ever?
Great. Yes, great. So Dwight's talking about Sean Dooney, who had been in business for a bit in the insurance industry, came over, had a partial year and then a first full year and just crushed it. And he was a student of the game. He's a sponge. He just took in everything he's learning. I mean, whether it be podcasts, whether it be from us, whether it be from KW, whatever's going on, he was an absolute sponge. And he treated it like a job. I mean, we hear that all the time, but he's in here at 8:30, and he's probably out of here at 5 to 6 p.m. But it honestly took him about 3.5 to 4 months to get paid, and then it was just like a hockey stick. It just took off. And most agents, a lot of us, right, our attention span or discipline or accountability, doesn't make it through those, say, 4 months. And for him, I mean, he was putting in the work week. We saw it coming, and he was like, okay, and he's pretty disciplined. But and he stuck with it, and then it just took off. And so now it's more like time management. And how do we scale him from making X to X, X to Y?
Right.
But he just treated it like a job. Came in every single day. Big sponge. He was just learning all the time. Didn't just get to a certain spot and say, I got it. He's just continually learning all the time.
Does that include scripts for him?
Yeah. Yeah.
You have your scripts written out for your team?
with Scripps book.
Yeah.
We've turned,
You've created a scripts book,
yeah,
right?
yeah. We've turned, we do scripts 3 days a week in the mornings, 9 to 9:30. But, and here's an example of Sean is, although he became one of our highest income earners on the team this year quickly, he's still in those script practices in the mornings. And we've shifted them a bit more from scripts to more focused on objection handling. We literally listed out, here's the 25 different objections we're going to get most often. And we're just going through those, making sure agents know how to respond to those. Because the script itself is easy, right? We can say whatever. It's the objection handling that gets tricky. So we kind of made a shift on that when you're talking about scripts. But yeah.
I think that that's so important because like in any given market and time, the objections are going to maybe change, depending on how you're generating for business, how you're doing your marketing, everything. And so doing that so that then you're not thinking about what to say in the moment, right?
Yeah.
It's not so that everyone sounds like robots and sounds the same. It's just practicing what you're going to say, right?
Well, we all know what we get hit with. It's uncomfortable. I mean, you know exactly what it is. Like, I hate it when they ask that. I hate it when the commission conversation comes up. Or hate it when they want to look at more houses and they love this one. Like, whatever it is. So just get really good at that. Like, we've asked our agents to keep a notepad themselves when they come up against a challenge. Sure, we're there real time, but bring that to objection handling. Let's just go through those. Then just practice it enough so you're comfortable with it.
Since he was so new, where did the majority of his deals come from? Coming from insurance and then to real estate, being new in the industry. Where would you say the majority of his deals came from?
I think a little over 50% of those came from us as a team and team stuff. And then, he's holding open houses. He actually was very cautious and like shy about reaching out to his sphere, which is a huge sphere, because he wanted to make sure he knew everything, right? We trick ourselves a bit on that. And I get why we feel that way, but he wanted to know it really well before he starts talking to, his brother, who's, very successful, looking at $1.5 million house. Like, he wanted to just know his stuff. So he was a little bit shy on that. So social media is a big one for him now that he's competent and equipped, like just getting himself out there more. So with some sphere, open houses, a lot came from the team, just inbound sources we have for him. Those are the biggest ones, probably. Yeah.
Bradley.
Activities. Yeah.
Well, I want to repeat that. That was a good question for those on Zoom. Bradley asked, are they more concerned with tracking outcomes or activities? Mark said activities.
Yeah.
Why?
And that's where it starts. We can track escrows. That's great. But the gap from where we are today to that escrow so far, we get lost in that. And so, appointment set is one thing we do track as a team daily, weekly, monthly. It's on our TV screen. Like, it doesn't start there. It starts with conversations. But like, if we don't have appointments, you're not going to have escrows. You're not going to have showings. You're not going to have, sellers.
While you track it, you train to do the activities that lead to the appointments, right?
Sure.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Got to start with the activities. And I relate to that because I started to do the same thing when I was young. I thought, wait, setting a goal for income was really difficult to do.
Yeah.
It was really more about, as long as I do these activities, I'll probably get my goal. And so I became very diligent about these activities, lead gen activities, open houses, etc., and just hammer those.
Yeah.
And the income happened. In fact, it would exceed he probably would say it was more income than he ever thought he would make, right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Focus on your activities because you can control that. When you're not doing them. When you're doing them, when you've done a few more. That will lead to what you need.
I think if you're doing the activities, because some of the activities, like this one's easier. I'll do this one all day. This one is tough, but we've got to do them all. But looking back and analyzing a couple of our agents, we looked back and said, look at different levels of conversion. For example, Mike on our team was going on lots of appointments, but he wasn't getting as many signed. And so that's something now that we're drilling down in and coaching specifically and practicing and training, like why? Because that's how he can do more with the same amount of effort and work is just by having a better conversion. It could be like, hey, I'm listing a bunch of houses and they're not selling. I'm losing them. Okay, well then let's talk about that. Could be getting to the appointment too.
Yeah. Cameron.
As the leader of the team, are you doing anything differently from last year, for example, from an incentive perspective to talk a little bit about that?
Or to like motivate.
Or do you, or like, do you break it down by quarter this year? Is that different than last year? Like what you offered to the team to?
We did change, I mean, just talking about team stuff specifically. We did change some things in our team. If you've been with a certain period of time or have a certain level of production, your splits will change. We call it next level agent. And so it's different than a new agent, who hasn't done many transactions or proven themselves. Last year, we were very consistent, probably better than any other year, about having sales incentives almost all the time. Like we'll have a sales incentive and, we're giving away fun stuff, whether it be scooters or a weekend away to a Mariners game in Seattle or, days in Sun River, just fun stuff, like experiences. If as salespeople, or if you have salespeople on your team, like they should be motivated by that. If they're not, then sales might not be right up their alley. So the team really kind of rallies around that. We did a lot of visual posting, tracking. And so we did that very consistent last year, better than any other year. I think that keeps people motivated, keeps us all motivated. Right. We should set goals for ourselves. If you're an individual agent, like you should set a goal for yourself, and it could be your spouse. Hey, honey, if I hit X, we're going to Hawaii in October, or we're going to get away for the weekend. Or,
your spouse will hold you accountable to that.
Yeah.
Right.
Get your kids involved.
Yeah.
Get your kids involved.
Disneyland if I sell enough.
No, seriously,
they'll talk about that visual tracking, because you go back to your area and you always can see that, right? Like that visual component. Let's talk about that. Like why you guys do that, the power of that on mindset.
It's just keep in front of mind.
Yeah.
It's just literally just keep in front of mind. I mean, and everybody's competitive. We have a lot of friendly competition. So if you're competitive with yourself, then you should be tracking whatever it is yourself at your desk. This year we did try to keep stuff visual.
Yeah.
Everybody's 1-3-5s. We literally had them dial them in. We got them realistic, simplified them, and we printed them off. We had them sign them. I signed them, and Matt, our director of sales, signed them. We framed them, and they're at their desk. Like they're on the wall at their desk. In the past, we kind of just do, oh, great. And I think they ended up in some folder. By March, they're, in the bottom drawer buried and no one's paying attention. So we literally put them in frames and they're at their desk. Like you gotta keep in front of us.
Yeah, they're not forgetting it.
And you did that fourth quarter? When did you start the 1-3-5s for this year?
October.
October.
Yeah.
Right. So you were done by the end of the year.
But dialed in before Christmas hit. Yeah.
But it's not too late if you haven't done.
So for those who don't know what the 1-3-5 is, would you just say quickly what the
I talked about it a little bit. Yeah, that it's the goals, priorities, and then strategies. And we'll print some out. We'll print some blank ones and put them in the middle area, and post in the Facebook group just so you don't have one filled out. You can work on that. You said you looked at conversion rates. What other data and information did you analyze or look at from 2024 that made you make decisions on either like things to stop doing or stop spending time on, or money, or things to focus more on in 2025?
I think as a company or as a team or leadership team, we looked at, I got called up by my coach, Tom Ferry coach, the coaches our leadership team, basically just saying, hey, you got too many shiny objects going on. And we could probably all say that's the case. And so we do this and we do it a level, 4 out of 10. And we do this level 6 out of 10 and this level 2 out of 10, and just jumping around like, not kind of trying to find the next thing or the next fix or whatever. And so we basically, before the end of the year, just say, okay, we're getting rid of this. We're not going to do that. We're going to shelf that till later. And we're going to really make sure these 3 things, for example, a couple different things, we're going to go deep on. And we're going to make sure we nail them, to a 9 or 10 before we move on to the next thing. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Totally does.
But
yes.
even as an agent,
and better on
each agent can do that.
Few things,
Yeah.
not trying to be like a jack of all trades.
But
Yes.
Go ahead.
I have a perennial question around this, and it ties back to your agents too, because each agent has their own focus for the year, and you have the team focus on avoiding shiny objects. When do you throw in the towel on something? And I don't mean real estate, obviously, but like, okay, an agent is doing this activity, or your team is doing this, and you're realizing there's not enough momentum here to be worth spending the time. Are you going into something new with criteria about when you're going to say, here's how I measure success? Or when do you call it? If you're trying something, it's just not working.
Yeah, even as an agent, you just got to analyze what you've really done to ensure you've given it everything possible before you throw in the towel. And whether you're spending money or time, they're both valuable on those things. And so I think sometimes we're like, oh, that's not working. But if we sit and self-reflect, we're like, okay, but I'm not really doing it to the level I should. I'm not really very well scripted. My conversion isn't good. So it's a skill issue, not the process or the system issue, or the lead source issue, whatever it may be. So I think you just got to analyze it well. And I think it's different for everybody. If you're spending money on it, you might want to cut that sooner than later. If it's time and you're not maxed with your time and your income, then you have more time to pour into it. Give it a little better, longer chance, maybe. That's what I'd say.
Good question, though.
Did that answer your question? A little bit.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Hmm. Yeah, I think it's just that's in one-on-one coaching really with the agents and talking through specifically and are they really doing it? You know, or they say they're doing it, or do they say they want to do it from 9 to noon and they're doing it from 10:30 to 11:30, and so time or improving the skills is a big one because here's the deal, it all works. Gary Kellerman said one time in a group of these team leaders, like, if it's not working, you're not working. He literally said that to a bunch of team leaders. Well, it was silent for about 30 seconds. We all just sat there like going, because it does work. Like all these different ways work. It doesn't mean it's the best for each person, but they all do work if you have the right skills and put in the time and you do it consistently. You said in the back when you were saying like, just don't give up. Like, just don't give up too early. We were talking about earlier before the meeting started. Like, you just got to keep going.
Yeah, and I want to chime on to like what I know you do in your coaching is you're looking at these things and you're looking at, is it working? Is it an activity issue? Is it what is the conversion? If you're doing tons of social media and spending tons of time on it, it's not converting, right? And have you spent enough time, right? How many have you've heard agents be like, oh, I tried open houses, they didn't work for me. I tried social media, it didn't work. Yeah. But like it all takes that time. So I know you're having those conversations in your one-on-ones like with, and it sounds like too, you're switching up your one-on-one conversations with your agents to really be tailored to their strong skills, right?
Yeah, and activities.
Yeah, and how they want
use
to
those
grow.
skills. Yeah, I'd say so for sure.
Because that, when you focus on doing the things that you are better at, you're going to be happier too, right? It's kind of like the whole the premise around a lot of the KPA. If you do the KPA ever, and you figure out you're capable of doing all the different ways of lead gen, but which ones are you going to do that you're going to actually enjoy a little bit more?
But I think at the beginning, or if you're trying to get to the next level, whatever it is, you got to grind through some of those ones you don't like. Yeah. I mean, you can't just go, there's 10 ways to do it, and I like this one because it's easy, and be new or not to a level of income, whatever it is you want, and go, I'm just going to do that one. Yeah. Like that comes later. That comes maybe years down the road. You need to probably pour into 3 or 4 to get enough out of those 3 or 4 to make it work. But you're going to still have one lead pillar that you're best at.
Yeah, but 3 or 4 is kind of what you recommend for the people grinding at the beginning.
For sure. Yeah, you got to get momentum. Yeah.
How often do you have the agents review their progress? Is it monthly or quarterly or?
So if an agent's done 6 transactions or less, we do with them weekly coaching. So they have a weekly coaching. So that's when we're reviewing that too. Okay. After that, it can be by every 2 weeks. We have some agents, been there for years and doing a great job that meet once a month. At a minimum once a month.
At a minimum once a month.
Yeah. Obviously, the newer we are, anything, the more help we need, the more guidance to coach. I jot some things down and like a must have, if you're thinking about this, like you have to have a goal. You have to have a plan. You have to have a coach or a guide or somebody, a Sherpa, or whatever to help you, because we don't know where we haven't been. And that's where we have a coach's leadership team too, to help us get where we want to go. And then you got to have the accountability, right? And that's often built into that guide or that coach or whatever, but there's accountability to ourselves and there's accountability to somebody else. And I think those are both important, but yeah, those are musts.
Did you have like a word or a mantra for 2025 to ever do that, or like a message?
I literally wrote something down. This is for me. I think it was Ed Milet. You guys know Ed Milet, great motivational speaker. He said this quote. He said, "The results you've been looking for are found in the work you've been avoiding."
Yes, I love that one. That is so good.
Right. And it's just, we sit there and go, why don't I get in there? Why am I doing that? And why can't I achieve that? It doesn't matter what it is. This could be with your kids. This could be with your, your business, your life, whatever. But it just really hit me big time. For me, that's recruiting. It's like, well, how we expect to be bigger and have more fun and do more transactions and have more culture, all that stuff, if we don't have more people to help support that, that goal as a team. And so again, the results you've been looking for are found in the work you've been avoiding. So I think that's a question we should all ask ourselves. I know I did when I heard that, like, okay, what is it I've been avoiding? And like answer that, and then ask yourself again, like, is that really it? Or is that like what I just naturally want to say because it sounds easy? But like really get to the core of that, like, what are you avoiding?
Yeah, that's powerful.
That's probably what's going to get you to the next level.
That's good.
It's kind of a mantra thing, I guess.
No, that's great. No, that's exactly what I meant, right? Like, and I think at different times, different quotes and things like that resonate with you more and in different times. Okay, I'm gonna change gears a little bit, but what are you guys saying, like, in your team right now to buyers and sellers to keep things moving and get people to move forward?
What are we saying specifically?
And like, what kinds of conversations?
Yeah, I mean, we tasked everybody to go through their pipeline, whether it's from watch to hot. We use the Brivity system, but so everybody we've talked to and is in your pipeline to some level, and have a conversation to get to the core of it. Like, are they still wanting to do something? And so we often we call it like the ultimate question. And so you can ask this of anybody, like when they say, no, I think we're going to, Bradley says, I think we're just going to wait. We'll wait for this. Well, let me ask you this. If you found the perfect home today and we could negotiate a great price, these are two things we know every buyer wants, using a buyer example, would you be interested in moving forward? Would you be interested in knowing about the property? Would you want to purchase this year? And if they say no to the quote perfect question, the perfect scenario, then they probably shouldn't be in your pipeline at the level maybe you have them. But if they say yes, then they are. Now we need to just dig further, ask better questions, find out more information, help them get through obstacles they may think are there, and maybe they're really not. But you can ask that ultimate question. I mean, that's a buyer one. You can ask that at any point in time. And if their answer is yes, then they are a viable lead.
Right. So if your pipeline isn't just a bunch of fluff, if it's actually viable.
Right. Because we all get pushed off, right? For whatever reasons. But if we ask them, hey, if that perfect house came up today, again, perfect house, we negotiated a great price, would you be interested in knowing about it or be interested in moving forward?
Do you guys have any questions? Otherwise, I'll keep going. Okay, what podcasts are you listening to right now? What books are you guys reading to start the year, or any you'd recommend?
I love it. I mean, I love Ed Mylett. Ed Mylett's great leadership stuff.
He's so good.
Tom Ferry has got great stuff all the time. We plug into him because of the coaching system, but he's got great stuff, YouTube channels, shorts and longer stuff in there. He also has great marketing stuff. Definitely would follow his stuff. I'm blanking on the name of the author right now. It's basically What to Say, How to Say It. Phil Jones. Phil Jones, What to Say, How to Say It for Real Estate Agents. A little black book we give to every agent when they start. And it goes through just like scripts and different ways to say things. And his whole thing about that is how do we say things in a way that makes it basically impossible to say no.
More open-ended, yeah.
And so that's a book I wish I would have had when I started the business. So if you don't have that, I would recommend. It's super easy to read. We're doing that at the book club. We're starting it right now, and really diving deep on those versus kind of skimming over it.
And those are good. There's one's called Exactly What to Say, just in general, and then there's Exactly What to Say for Real Estate Agents. Two different books, but both are good. Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay, what else? How do you keep the momentum going? Like right now, it's the start of the year. You're motivated. Everyone's posting their goals, their 1, 3, 5s. How do you keep that 3 months from now, 4 months from now, 5 months from now?
How do we keep it in agents, or how many in ourselves? I guess,
yourself, but
I think we just got to keep reflecting back to the goal, right? I mean, it just take it back to that at any point in time. And we drift off. Something comes up in life, something comes up in schedule or whatever, and it drift just happens so easily. And and then we wake up 2, 3, 4 weeks later, as we talk about the year going on, and we're over here like going this way, and our goal was that way. So I think that's just consistently realigning, reassessing. I don't know if you guys have heard the 15th. It's called the 15th protocol. And I can't remember who promoted that or created that or whatever, but it's the 15th of every month. Ask yourself, how am I doing for that month? But you can ask yourself that right now, roughly, for January. And if your goal is X and you've done like half X, or you've done quarter X, like you're gonna have to triple down. And so it basically says, hey, don't wait to the end of the month and say, hey, I didn't get there. The 15th protocol, you could do that with a quarter or You can do that week, every other week, whatever. Yeah. But each month on the 15th of the month, how am I doing this month? Because if not, make a promise to yourself, make a promise to your spouse or someone else. If I don't, I'm gonna have to work 60 hours a week the last 2 weeks because I've been slacking the first two.
I'm
That's
a
a
big
good
fan of
reassess.
the 15th day protocol.
Yeah.
I think about that as like our office, right? Because even as a Keller Williams, we close our
Sure.
books every month. Then we're like looking at how much sales everyone's doing and like what, listings versus buyers and like what we could be working on. But that gives you that gut check of like halfway through the month, like if you're not even close to your goal,
Yeah.
like you need to be doing something different, right? So what are you going to change and implement on that 15th day?
It's like that, change your activity or change your goal. Like one of them's got to change. And it's not fun to change goals, in the first quarter for your whole year.
Yeah.
Pretty deflating.
Yeah.
What are you telling homeowners when your team has a listing appointment? What are your agents telling the homeowners in terms of the year? Is this a good time? What should they be doing, just generally speaking?
It's a good time. That depends on their situation a lot. Obviously, it depends on what they're trying to accomplish. And I think the first part of the year is a great time. Honestly, I believe if I was selling one of our properties, I would sell it in the first quarter. I just love the first quarter. People come out of the woodwork. Who's seeing people right now kind of reach out and stuff's happening, and you get more inbound maybe right now. You guys seeing like it feels like people come out of the woodwork. That starts happening. So sellers right now that are possibly thinking, let's wait till May, June when the flowers come out. We just say, hey, let's beat those people to the market when there's less inventory, because we all know in summer we see more signs go up in all of our neighborhoods. More competition typically doesn't mean you're going to sell your house for more money. So if you do want to move forward, it does make sense, all those things. It's a great time to sell. Perfect. Rates have been somewhat consistent. I think we're not hearing people say, I'm going to wait till rates go down. I think we're settling into new normal this year. You kind of talk about this year, I think more people are just going to get used to this is the way it is. The longer it is this way, it's kind of a normal. It's not shocking.
I think so too. And there's not a thing of like, oh, after the election, after this, it's just kind of now we're just living.
Yeah,
right?
That's a great point. No. Next week.
I knew what you were going to say.
No, I'm thinking of someone in my own neighborhood that for months have been talking about selling, and we're shooting for next week. It's going to push into 1st of February, but I think it's just a great time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Next month.
What about some of our agents or just the market in general has listings that are sitting a little bit longer? What is your advice for people with listings who are kind of stagnant, maybe need price reduction? Any strategies around that?
Just stay in good communication. Just stay in good communication. I think it's just good customer service rule. Like we got to get to them before they get to us. If you're having sellers calling you going, what's going on? What's happening? How many showings did I get last, whatever, then we're not doing our job. And when we don't do that, short leash. When we're in good communication along the way, much longer leash. Start planting seeds if you think it's price. Start planting seeds now. A seller loves nothing more, even though they know they maybe need to reposition their price. They're expecting you're going to say that on that phone call. And when you think you want to, don't. Just plant a seed. Mm-hmm. A seller loves to hear like, hey, Bradley, all this is going on. Activity's great. Have your normal conversation. I'm not here to say like we should, reposition the price today. But, if we don't see any changes in the next week or two, we probably should talk about that. And then when you talk to them in a week or two, you're not blowing them out of the water. And it's not gone too. You kind of planted that seed. They've thought about it, right? If you're talking to the husband, he went home and talked to the wife. Hey, Mark said or whatever. So I think then it just comes much, much easier. Super little scripting thing, but don't say drop, lower or reduce price. People don't want to. All those mean like just money, and they think they're losing money they didn't have. But always say reposition the price. Reposition and use the market, not yourself. To your question, like what are those conversations?
Yeah.
The market's saying this, the market's telling us that. Reemphasize your numbers and things we know, the views, the show, whatever, the stats you're looking at to give them. Reemphasize those things big time because they think your marketing's not working. And when you can say we've got this many views and this many showings and all this stuff, that when that's in place and we don't have the offers, it typically means the market is kind of rejecting our price a bit.
I used to say, it's time to start thinking about becoming more competitive in the market.
It's great.
There's many
Yeah.
ways you can say it, right? Whatever
Plant
works
those
for
little-
you. Find your own words. was that?
Say it again. Veronica needs it.
I would say, so, you know, Mark had his words.
That's great. I love that.
typically would say,
Yeah.
listen, we're not getting the activity that I was hoping for. I would just ask you to start thinking about becoming more competitive on the price next weekend or the weekend after if we don't see any changes. Yeah, how about that? It's time to start thinking about becoming more competitive
Yeah,
on the price,
it.
right?
More competitive in the market. Yeah.
And I, you know, so there's a million ways. I'm just saying, you
Mhm.
come up with your own words, but the point is you're getting them to think about it, but you're not asking for the price reduction, right?
That's what they're expecting right then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Blow them out of the water. Yeah.
Yep.
Another one is just, you know, being on the market, on the market versus in the market.
Ooh.
And whether you're drawing something or you have a chart in your listing presentation or you refer to it or whatever it is, like, one thing is to be on the market. Anybody can be on the market. Anybody. We could list Green's house for $8 million today if we wanted to be. She'd be on the market.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about just missing it a bit, I mean, you can use a bullseye analogy or whatever. Like, we're just on the market. We're just missing being in the market, and reposition the price will get us there and get us to move forward. Yeah.
That's good. Bradley.
Yeah. After about a year in the business, this is the 20th year. After the first year, got a KW coach. Had that for, gosh, I can't remember exact time frames here. It was about 4 or 5 years. And I'm like, I thought, I don't think I'm getting anything out of this. And I'm gonna take a break. Got out of that. About 8 months later, got back into it. I was missing it, and it was helping me so much. I just didn't realize it. So probably 15 years with KW maps, and then the last 4 or so with Tom Ferry coaching me.
I think
Not with Tom directly, no. One of those phenomenal coach. Yeah.
And I think that's so important that, like, even as you're, so successful, have a great team doing all these transactions, you're still doing coaching to learn and get better. And you might evolve, and what you're looking for in coaching might be different.
Totally.
And you might have to switch coaches, but
Mhm.
the value of having a coach.
Yeah.
Jason.
A more specific experience question for you, Mark. I had a listing that didn't sell last year because the sellers did some work that wasn't permitted, like small additions to their home.
Mm-hmm.
How do you overcome that objection to the other agent that, and we disclose it every time, but like it keeps on like killing the deal? Like, have you sold houses that had unpermitted work, and how did you overcome that?
Yeah, that's tough. Depends how big it is and what it is and how much. And
Yeah.
I mean, it really depends on the buyer too. Right? You get the contractor that comes in, it's like, I don't care, I'll check it out, it looks good. Or you get the person that had an issue, 2 houses ago they bought in Arizona and they freak out, because of something like that. So I think it's at the end of the day, the buyer's got to feel comfortable with it. So let them do more due diligence, let them take more time, get other whatever they need to do. But
the seller, he's a contractor, and so he did a lot of the work with a licensed contractor, but he just was like, I'm not dealing with Portland, I'm not going to get permits. Beautiful house, beautiful neighborhood, but all the buyers they're just spooked now because it's been on the market for a while. I want to relist it this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's about $1 million, 1.1
Mm-hmm.
in garden home, solarium, really nice house. But, I'm just trying to figure out how to overcome with the agent. Like, what do I tell them up front? Hey, there's been some work done. It's not permitted. Like, but it was all done with a contractor that did the solarium license and permitted. So I was just wondering if you had any experience and had sold homes that had, unpermitted work and some of those objection.
It's a tough one. I mean, because you could be priced appropriately given that, let's say.
Yeah.
But when a buyer comes in, they go in contract, and you get to inspection time, if that's where the rubber meets the road. And, maybe if it's the right buyer that's maybe on waffling, whether it's or not, maybe there's a concession that makes them comfortable.
Yeah.
If it's 20 grand, then they go, okay, if I deal with something, I got 20 grand to deal with it later, or pay someone to come in and get re-inspected. That's a tough one to talk through because it's so much the other side that we can't control as much.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And it became stale. So then I was like, let's just take it off the market.
It might just be having your seller understand this is something we got to deal with.
Yeah.
And so whatever it is, whatever contract price is, maybe you say like, hey, next time we get in contract, just know like, I don't, you know, if we face this again, maybe we need to offer a $30,000 concession at that price point. I'm saying like, and get them thinking like that because everything's, you know, you can put something together at any price. There's just a certain price, and a certain price, most buyers will overlook that and go, okay, fine, we're getting it for 30 grand less. I'll deal with it. Yeah.
That's what I can tell. Yep. Tell them up front.
Yeah, be prepared to make a concession.
Potentially, that could be a
Yep.
Yeah, just setting
But
the
if that's not working, another strategy would be, well, let's lower the price. I'll have a conversation with them before they write an offer to tell them why the price is lower so that they know what to look for in the home inspection. And I know if we lower the price, we'll attract a lot more buyers.
Yeah.
That might
Good
actually
approach, yeah.
jumpstart the activity on that.
Mhm.
I'd say that's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good question,
Yeah.
Mark. We always value your expertise. So many good little nuggets today. Thank you for everything.
Absolutely.
Big round of applause for Mark. Okay, see you guys next week for the economic forecast. Are you guys going to come to the economic forecast?
Yeah, I don't think we've registered though. So with those limited spots, we got to get on it. Yeah.
Get on it.
We talked about it. Yeah, I know we do. We'll
We'll put a
in the back.
speaker from here into your room.
We'll stand in the
Yeah, we'll
so,
put
yeah.
like
You
one of
guys can
those
watch it on
two cans on
Figure it out. No.
two cans on a string.
Yeah, we